Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Acts 2 Christmas webinars. I'm excited to have you join us. So here's what we're doing. At Acts 2, we are all about equipping pastors and leaders to change their cities. And so what we've done is we've recorded a series of interviews with people that are considered professionals in their in their area of ministry. And we're asking them questions about how we can best prepare for the Christmas season that is coming up for all churches and how we can best minister in those seasons. And today, I'm really excited that you clicked on this video because this is a topic that every pastor really needs some insight on. It's really difficult to do. And we've got Shaniqua Karanja with us today from the Creative Counseling Group right here. And we are excited. She is a counselor, and she'll tell us more about her business in just a little while. But she deals with this stuff. She helps my church. She helps other churches with these kind of things. And today what we really want to talk about, Shaniqua, was how can we minister to grieving families and people during the Christmas holidays. So on that note, welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. And I want to say, too, I'm really excited to, be speaking with you about this. And it says something about who you are as a pastor that this is a topic that you are concerned with.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And there's going to be several leaders and pastors that are jumping on this video over time leading up to Christmas. And you're going to be helping them get ready to minister to grieving families during the season. So let me start with the questions. Let's jump right in.
Let's jump
so we can get this thing going. How prevalent is grief really, especially during the holidays? How prevalent is that?
Very prevalent. And, one of the things that I often try to teach people is that grief is not just a death, because there are up to 43 different types of life situations that can result in grief. Wow. That brings that number of grieving people up. A loss of a job during the holidays is a major thing that can cause grief to that person and their whole family. The loss of a loved one, a move, many different things. So, yes, it's very prevalent.
So that's interesting. 43 different events that can cause grief in your life. So with knowing that, that's an incredible stat. I had no idea. Because usually when you think about it, especially in ministry settings, you think about, losing a family member or a loved one or something like that. So why is it that during the holidays, like during this time when we're gearing up to celebrate Jesus and, we're baking our casseroles and all that stuff, right? All the stuff we love.
Holiday ham.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. Come on. Pineapple casserole. Have you had that?
No.
Oh, my gosh. You got to try pineapple casserole. It's incredible.
That sounds like you're going to make it and invite me to have
I'll have someone make it because I'll mess it up.
Okay, sounds good.
But, so why is it during those seasons and those holidays that it seems to kind of surface a little bit more, especially in churches? You see it a lot. So
we do see it in a lot of churches. Well, normally when a person is grieving, a lot of times we see that people will try to find things to keep them busy. Work, some of them will do overtime, in any type of activity, the gym, different things that's busy work so that they don't have to focus on the thing that is really making them feel so sad and bad. And during the holidays, the busy work is all surrounded by the holidays. Going to the store, getting gifts, picking up cards, going to the post office to mail it out. And so they can't escape their sadness because this holiday that's about joy reminds them of people who were no longer with them, or, traditions and, rituals and things of that nature that they might have done with their family that they now can't do. So that's the reason why grief is exacerbated around the holidays. It's because it brings up the what ifs and, I miss so-and-so and only if I still had my job, those types of situations.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought. We were talking pre-recording about how, a year and a half ago now, I lost my grandmother, my mom's mother. Yes. And she was like a matriarch in a family. She kind of brought all the cousins and the aunts and the uncles and all of us together. Yeah. And that tradition that we had of every Christmas Eve, we went to her house and we ate and opened presents and, just picked on each other and all. Well, that when she passed away, and then with COVID, but when she passed away, that tradition kind of went away.
It changed a little.
It changed. And I didn't realize it until Christmas, because you helped me and my family through that time in a real way. And it was last Christmas where we were like, for the first time in 37 years of my life, 38 years, no, 37. I can't remember how old I am. 37 years of my life at that time, it was like, we're not going to grandma's house.
Well, it's interesting because what I normally do with my clients, I try to talk to them and encourage them not to necessarily let all of those traditions go.
Yeah.
Although grandmother is not here anymore, I would suggest or recommend yourself or anyone that was talking to me about this to see how you can adjust that tradition to fit the family dynamic now.
That's good.
So, like for your mom, for example, although it would be an extremely sad time for her because she's lost her mom.
Right.
She now has the honor of being the matriarch.
Yeah.
So being able to make that something that's to be celebrated and to adjust the tradition so that your mom now sets some standards and tones for the tradition means that you can still honor your grandmother, but also revamp the tradition for the whole family.
It's like a passing of the baton almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good practical. And when you told me that off camera, I was like, oh, that's what we did. We just didn't realize that's what we did.
Right. Right.
We kind of changed the way we did things because we had to. But it's kind of that passing of the baton. That's really good stuff. So as pastors in this time, thinking about the 43 different ways of grief or things that cause grief, and how it pops up, and people deal with it all so differently. Everybody, I said a phrase in a message not too long ago, and you you talked to me about it afterwards, about everybody medicates in some way.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes it's a not the right way, and we see that in churches and things. But as pastors, we want to lead people to Jesus. The joy of the season, the celebration of his birth, of our Savior. But we also want to be sensitive to understand there's a lot of hurting people, especially today.
Right.
Especially with COVID, wrecking lives, the workforce, like there's so much division and tension.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We also want to love people through that sensitivity of those moments. How can we do both this Christmas?
Well, first, I want to make a suggestion, and this is for you and every pastor watching. It could be helpful to do a little small video clip, a thinking of you clip, if you will, as you're leading up to the holidays. This video could be something like, I'm going to use Radiate for an example. We here at Radiate Church are thinking about you and your family, and we understand that there are so many people who are hurting around this time, and we're here for you. Yeah. And give them some options of things that they can do or that the church is willing to help them with during this time, and boost that so that it reaches your members and the community.
Does it need to be anything that's like you have to pay a professional person to come in, or can you, like, depending on the budget of your church and the size you can do a phone or like a selfie video kind of thing?
Just a simple video. Honestly, I wouldn't overcomplicate it because then it'll look staged.
Oh, wow.
You want it to have that feeling of being genuine. You want it to, be like they're talking to their pastor.
Yeah.
You don't want it to seem so produced that they feel like it's now something that was overly planned.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that's great. That's because I think sometimes we can make things a little too plastic.
Yeah. We don't mean to, I think, sometimes, but we can do that at times. You're right.
Yeah, and you want to be transparent. You want to be real.
Yeah.
So doing things like that, what are some other things that we can do?
Some other things. I want to tell you there's a few ministries and organizations that churches can connect themselves to. The Stephen Ministry is really great. Okay. They can actually connect to the ministry and actually have someone in their church trained to help support grieving people. Yeah. Another one is Grief Share. Grief Share is a really great program that churches can bring in and have a support group set up for their members. Grief Recovery Method. There are grief recovery specialists all around the U.S. that can help. And some practical things that you can do at your own church is set up a care table. Yeah. So we did something like that, I think Mother's Day and Father's Day. Yeah. Where we had like a memorial table set up, and we gave flowers, and we had a prayer list set so that people can sign up and let us know that they needed prayer. And we followed up with them throughout the week and the subsequent months. So those are some things that the churches can do that are practical and
really
helpful for their community.
So in the description and show notes kind of thing, what we're going to do is we'll list a lot of these resources for you.
Yes.
If there's a link, all you got to do is click on it. If nothing else, we'll give you the name, and you can go and Google it and find more information there as well, so that it's not just you have to write it down real quick while you're driving or watching this or whatever, but that it'll be listed for you. Man, that's really good stuff.
And there was one other thing that I did want to mention too, as it relates to that. As you are preparing and getting things set up to help and assist your community and your members, keep in mind for those who have like different serve teams and things of that nature, if you have people on the team that are grieving, their moods can change up a little bit from time to time. It can swing a little bit, and that's normal for a person who's grieving. And with that comes sometimes that person who's normally very committed can be the person that says no thank you to a serving opportunity. So having that in mind, the teams being prepared to cushion their serve people in a way where they have some backups just in case is helpful too, so that they're not thrown off if someone who felt good today is not feeling so good tomorrow and decides not to come to something.
No, that's excellent. I honestly hadn't thought about that side of grief and how kind of inconsistent you can be because of your feelings and emotions and mental state even, mental health even through that, depending on the tragedy and the trauma.
Absolutely.
And there's some videos that you can watch too, where we talk about growing your teams and strategies to do that leading up to Christmas and how to help people get involved, to help cushion those teams, to give people, and people just in general need some time off anyway.
It's true. So it's a good habit to have no matter what.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, Shaniqua, and we've talked about this, to not just care for grieving during the holidays.
Year round.
Do it year round.
Year round. And so I was going to mention this at some point anyway. Having a care team, it's really essential. It's not something that I think some churches have set up as an actual serve team, but having a care team would help you to take care of those people year round, because the care team people will keep a calendar of people's milestones as far as, so-and-so lost their father this particular day. We need to send a card out. We need to be checking in on them. The pastor can't be there for every single person and be everywhere as much as he would want to or she would want to. It's just not something that can be done. So having a team that can do that will help to be able to support those people throughout the year. Yeah,
that's really good. That's been you've really helped us with your expertise in that area and all that with that stuff. So as we're talking about this, highly emotional times.
Yes.
Highly, there's going to be a lot of grief, people dealing with different things. And what are some things that we should make sure that we say or acknowledge or work in, even in a welcome or in a message? Is there anything that we need to make sure in these times to go, okay, if we can somehow work something in?
Well, I love that you're asking about acknowledging. I love the word acknowledge because the word know is in there. What you're telling people is that we know that you're really going through something. It's not that we don't realize that this time that is a time of joy can also be a time of pain for a lot of people. I think just simply saying that, just whenever you get up to do your greetings or you're putting out your videos or your messages prior, just not forgetting that there are people who are pushing themselves to be present. So they might be in the room and they might try very hard to be a part of the camaraderie and the joy of the moment, but they could be truly in agony. So them getting an opportunity to hear that someone knows that they are there and that they are going through something is vital.
Wow. Just hey guys, welcome. We know that for some of you, this can be a difficult season.
Right.
And we want you to know that we have a prayer team or a care team or we just want you to know we've been praying for you, or it's
Yes,
something like
just
that.
like that. And like I always use the fallback scripture of Romans 12:15, rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. Like this is a season of rejoicing, but while we're doing that and we're having a great time rejoicing with you, we also want to take a moment to acknowledge those who are mourning.
Wow.
You know, so that particular scripture always is
really good.
A nice fail safe.
All right. So we've talked about what do we need to work in to acknowledge.
Okay.
What do we need to stay away from? We are professional talkers.
Yes.
Right? So that's what we do. And
Right.
inevitably, you've heard some of my faux pas. And
I've made some myself.
So
We all have.
what do we need to make sure, like, don't say that?
Well, there's certain things. Well, there's a lot, actually.
Okay. All right.
You might have to make a
this is
list.
good. Yeah.
But a few things. Things don't encourage people to move on.
Okay.
That's something that can be really tricky.
Okay.
If you're going to, in some way, incorporate that thought process in a message, move forward is a better way
Okay.
versus move on. Move on
Okay.
has a very...
I think everybody should just move on. You know me, black and white.
Move
No, I'm
forward. We want them all to move forward.
kidding. Yeah, that's good.
We want to try not to say things like, you know, God has a plan, God has a reason. And it's not because we don't believe he has a plan and he has a reason, but we don't want to villainize God.
Okay.
And
okay.
when a person is grieving,
Yeah.
they're not thinking of the Lord, some of them, the way we are. They are angry, they are sad, they are hurting. So what we don't want to do is give them ammunition against our Father by saying he had a reason for taking so-and-so. Or
Can I push back on that for a
Sure,
second?
please.
And like, not
Please,
push back,
absolutely.
but lean in.
Yes, please.
So we don't say things like God had a plan and a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I totally understand that. But how do we take that and still push them to help them understand God is sovereign? And God is loving through the hardest and darkest time that you've experienced or maybe currently experiencing. How do we do that then?
There are a number of scriptures and Psalms that I really love that address anger and hurts
Okay.
while also praising the Lord at the same time.
That's
Okay?
really good.
And those would be the things that I would give to a person
Yeah.
and let them sort it out for themselves. Like
Good.
provide that information and then let them come to it on their own. There are also some things that I give to my clients. They are I call them base prayers.
Okay.
These prayers are about being able to talk to the Lord about being angry or hurt or upset or sad with him based on their grief.
Okay.
And when they're ready, they adjust and edit that prayer to fit themselves in, and they start saying that until they believe it. And so they get to that place of understanding that the Lord only wants good things for them. He would never intentionally hurt them.
They're encouraging their spirit. They're building their
Right,
faith in a
right.
time where it's probably down.
Right. And we know that the Lord, we are never going to question the fact that the Lord has reasons for the things that happen in our lives or plans for us. That's never the question. It's just timing sometimes is important as to when we say those things to a person.
That's really good. That's really good. So stay away from move on.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't say and stay away from God had a plan and a reason for that to take place.
Or this person is just basically what I'm saying is stay away from anything that would make it about God taking someone, because that's not the message that we would want to give.
Yeah.
You can address the person is grieving or having a difficult time without villainizing him. Does that make sense?
I think that's a great thought in general, is how we communicate our acknowledgement of that season of their life,
Right.
without vilifying a God that's not a villain.
Right, because he's not. He's really not.
Wow.
And it can happen. No one, I don't think people just intend to just put their hands together and say, I'm going to see God as a terrible person. But grief is not a very, and I say this and sometimes people wince when I say it, it's not a rational emotion. It's a bucket of many emotions.
Yeah.
And because you're dealing with so many emotions at one time, rational is not at the top of that
Man,
that bucket. You know what I mean?
that is so good, and it's probably honestly something we can take moving forward past Christmas,
Right.
and communicating the love of God to unchurched, dechurched, non-believers, even believers. Make sure we're communicating God's love without vilifying
Right.
God himself.
Yes,
So
I agree.
that's really good. All right, so we're ending our time. We're
Okay.
getting to the end of our time, right?
Okay.
This has been really helpful stuff.
Okay.
But I want you to leave each pastor and leader that's listening today, because maybe we got some leaders on here of churches, or maybe even business leaders. I don't know, but leave each pastor and leader with something you think they should know. That you think they should know. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I think I already said it
Oh,
too
you're welcome.
soon. But I'm gonna say it again because I think it's the most important takeaway.
Yeah.
Set up a care team.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the reason why is because you can't be everywhere, you can't do everything, and on top of that, we're not all wired in a way where we can give that healthy dose of compassion.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're not compassionate, but we may not be the person that can, sit with that crying person and not try to fix them. Just be silent in the midst of things. So
why are you
a
calling
care
me
team.
out right now? That's exactly what you're doing right now.
Look,
No, that's
but
good.
no, a care team would be great. Set up some people who, and you want to be very careful about who you choose, because these are people who are going to have very sensitive information, and they themselves need to have the right wiring in order to support those who are walking through some difficult times.
You did some. This is it's sitting off topic, but it's leading towards something. But you did something with our staff called a temperament assessment
Yes.
for each person, so that we knew how we were wired. And I think all of us sat here and laughed because you read our mail. You read our mail. Well, in fact, we still laugh about it. Pastor Chris, our creative pastor and worship pastor, me and him laugh about it because you read our mail so well. You know what I'm saying? And I think that helped me. And maybe we can do an episode, maybe we can do a video in the future about how to do that, and
Right.
and how that can benefit your teams and your staff.
We could do that.
But it helped me realize I'm just not wired for some of that. And that's got to be okay.
Yeah.
And
There's nothing wrong with that. This is the thing. You're going to have pastors that they're pastors, but they might be really great at certain things. Like this pastor might be great at helping a couple with budgets. Don't ever ask me to help you with numbers.
Yeah.
I can help you with grief, but I can't help you with numbers,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with a pastor saying, hey, this is not an area that is my strong suit. So now let me equip myself in my church by, pulling people who are.
yeah, that's so good. So develop a care team. I think
Yes.
that is so key. If maybe this Christmas season is a time where that can jumpstart in some churches.
It'd be great to
And
start now.
They can start it in Christmas and then figure out a sustaining system
Right.
to keep that rolling throughout the year in some capacity. I think that's awesome. All right, so tell us real quick about the Creative Counseling Network and what you do and what you offer.
The Creative Counseling Network is a division of a nonprofit called Grief Compassion Network.
Okay.
We offer counseling and support to people nationally and actually internationally now.
Oh, wow, come on.
And
That's
yay.
really awesome.
So what we do is we work with those who are struggling through life challenges. The nonprofit side of what we do is we work with grieving families who they've just been through major tragedies. So it allows us to be able to, send them to different conferences, retreats, things of that nature that can help support what they need to heal.
Yeah.
And so what we do for local churches is we go in and we help them with establishing grief support in their church or getting them connected to local support so that they will have resources to help their congregations and their communities.
That's really good. So I know how beneficial what you do is. I tell churches about you all the time. They
Thank
give you a
you.
call and you check you out and do the temperament test and all that. In fact, I've got to get a guy in touch with you now because
Send them to me.
I should have 2 weeks ago and I didn't.
Okay.
But how can we get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to our website. It's creativecounselingnetwork.org. You can call us at 803-784-8481.
Okay.
Or you could visit our Facebook page. Yes, Facebook. I wish I could say Instagram, but I haven't been able to get with Instagram good. As well. We're on Facebook, the Creative Counseling Network.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And if you guys have any questions about counseling or grief or temperament tests, we will do a session on that. I think that'll be really good in the future. Mm-hmm. Or anything like that, Shaniqua is the one to talk to. I'm telling you, she is amazing at what she does.
Thank you.
And she is so gifted in this area. She's been such a godsend to not just our church, but churches all over. You help other churches in this area.
Churches,
and
senior facilities, different businesses and organizations too.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. So make sure you get in touch with her. Find out what she can do to help you guys with a care team or anything like that. And hey, I hope you found this session helpful. I know they did, and there's no way they didn't.
So.
Shaniqua, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you were amazing. You dropped some real gold. And we'll have all the notes that we can provide for you in the show notes or in the description and ready to go for you. Hey, guys, listen, we've got so many more videos that you can watch or podcasts that you can listen to so that you can get prepared as best as possible so we can empower you and equip you to change your city for the kingdom of God this Christmas. We love you at Acts 2. We're so proud of you, and we're honored to serve alongside of you.